A young woman named Chloe shares her story about how she can adapt to whatever her clients desire in her profession. She highlights that her job requires not just looks, but also the skill to connect with clients through her words and actions. Meanwhile, Catherine, a gynecologist in her 40s living in Toronto, is busy at her office. Throughout her day, she glances out the window and sees Chloe arriving at a nearby hotel with different clients. Catherine's husband, David, gets an invitation to dinner from one of his students.
A few of us would like to take you to dinner.
But he turns it down since it's his birthday and he has to leave early. Catherine is secretly organizing a surprise birthday party for him, reassuring her guests that he'll be there any minute when her phone rings. On the call, David tells her he missed his flight and won't make it back in time, while the female student who invited him is right there with him. Upset, Catherine breaks the news to her guests and encourages them to keep the celebration going. The next morning, Catherine wakes up to find David at home. He apologizes for missing the party, saying he had no clue it was happening. Even though he's about to head to work, she mentions she has a gift for him, but he replies that he'll be working late and has to leave early for class. She then sees her son Michael's girlfriend and reminds them to use protection after realizing David is aware of their relationship. Catherine starts to have doubts about David's fidelity when she stumbles upon a photo of him and the female student hugging, along with a text thanking him for the previous night, which was David's birthday when he claimed he couldn't return. Later that evening, while dining out with friends, Catherine notices David flirting with the waitress, which clearly unsettles her. Catherine heads to the bathroom and hears Chloe crying in the stall next to her. She asks if there's anything she can do to help. While they wash their hands, Chloe offers Catherine her hairpin, but Catherine politely turns it down, saying she needs to get back to her husband. As she leaves, she notices Chloe looking upset over something with another customer at a nearby table. After dinner, Catherine confronts David about his flirty behavior with the waitress, but he insists he was just being nice. She then asks if he missed the flight on purpose, and he quickly denies. The next day after work, Catherine swings by the hotel bar where Chloe hangs out. Chloe looks at her with curiosity and admits she doesn't usually meet women. Catherine buys her a drink and shares her worries about David possibly cheating. She asks Chloe to introduce herself to him and see how he reacts, suggesting she visit him at his favorite coffee shop. Catherine tells Chloe to pretend she's a student. The next morning, Chloe goes to the coffee shop and spots David reading a newspaper. After a moment of doubt, she approaches him to ask for some sugar. David looks up and hands her the sugar. Later that day, Catherine meets with Chloe, who shares her brief encounter with David, mentioning he was friendly but only a bit flirty, and nothing major happened aside from him talking to her. Interested in Chloe's life, Catherine asks how she balances her work. Chloe talks about her ability to see the good in people and how she meets all sorts of individuals, including Catherine. Catherine then pays Chloe, asking her to meet David again to observe his behavior. That evening, Catherine sees David chatting online. She goes downstairs where she finds Michael's girlfriend breaking up with him over FaceTime. He slams the door in her face and she heads over to David to fill him in on their son's situation. David reassures her that Michael will be fine. They share a drink of scotch that Catherine got for David's birthday, and it sparks some old connections between them. Catherine reminisces about their past, especially the days when they were young lovers, always greeting each other at the airport. David pulls her in close and admits he misses those moments, but then he remembers he has work to finish. As she glances out the window, she sees Michael on the phone with David, asking how he and Catherine know each other. Just then, her phone buzzes with a message from Chloe wanting to meet up. Feeling more relaxed about David, Catherine tells Chloe she no longer needs her assistance, but Chloe drops a bombshell, saying she's already met with David again.
Wait, you had lunch with my husband?
Yeah.
She goes into detail about their lunch, the kisses they shared, and how she felt him getting aroused. This news shakes Catherine to her core, and she tells Chloe she regrets bringing her into this mess. While Catherine struggles to maneuver out of a tight parking spot, Chloe rides off on her bike. Unfortunately, she loses her balance and tumbles onto a patch of snow, scraping her knee. Catherine brings her back into the office and opens her medical bag to help with the injury. As she starts to cut away Chloe's pantyhose to bandage her knee, Chloe decides to slide them down instead, making Catherine feel awkward. Later, while still chatting about her time with David, Chloe shares more about their encounter, including how they kissed in a private spot and how she performed a sexual act on him before he left to finish his work. Catherine awkwardly inquires if Chloe is STD-free, and Chloe assures her she'll share her medical records. After driving home and taking a shower, Catherine's mind is flooded with thoughts of Chloe's stories, leading her to some personal time. The next day, Chloe swings by Catherine's office to drop off her medical paperwork. While there, she catches a snippet of Michael chatting with the secretary about picking up his tux for a recital. Chloe walks over while he's making copies of music sheets, telling him he resembles Catherine and asking if he's a musician who could teach her. They bond over their favorite band. After handing over her medical documents, Chloe mentions she'll be meeting David later in the day, just as Catherine asked. While out with friends, Catherine gets a text from Chloe inviting her to a hotel. Her friends wonder if Chloe's acting weird because of David ditching his birthday, but Catherine insists everything's sorted and she has to leave to see a patient. Chloe, wearing a bathrobe, shares the story of her afternoon with David, starting from their meeting in the park. Unlike previous times, they didn't linger there and ended up at the hotel. Chloe then reveals they slept together, detailing the encounter vividly. She looks at Catherine, asking if her description is having an effect, but Catherine stays silent, prompting Chloe to continue. After finishing her story about David, Catherine hands her an envelope with payment, and they exit the room. While waiting for the elevator, Catherine shares with Chloe what her relationship with David used to be like. When Chloe inquires if she still has feelings for him, Catherine admits she's unsure, and then heads over to the couch in the hallway, breaking down in tears. Chloe rushes to comfort her, and in a moment of regret, kisses Catherine unexpectedly. After a brief pause, Catherine suddenly stands up and leaves, surprised by the kiss. Later that evening, she goes to a music recital, where Michael is playing the piano. She keeps her distance from David, sitting a few seats away, which he notices. They both turn their attention to David as he performs on stage, and when he finishes with a dramatic flourish, his parents and the audience give him a standing ovation. At the after-party, Catherine spots David talking to another woman. When he sees Catherine, he walks over to congratulate her on his performance, kissing her hand. Just as they're sharing the moment, the woman calls for David, and he leaves Catherine standing there. Feeling upset, Catherine heads to the hotel to meet Chloe. She starts to undress but stops short when Chloe approaches her, and they end up getting intimate. Afterward, Catherine pays for Chloe's taxi and asks her to stop seeing David. When they reach Catherine's stop, Chloe offers her a hairpin that belonged to her mother, wanting Catherine to have it. Catherine chooses not to reply or take the gift and walks away. Once she gets home, she finds David waiting for her, and he questions if she has been unfaithful. Catherine, fuming, snaps back that she wants to ask him the same question. David stays silent, which leads to a heated argument.
I'm not having an affair! Stop it!
Causing Michael, who overhears, to get upset and retreat to his room. The next day after lunch, Catherine comes back to her office and finds several missed calls, along with an email from Chloe that has a picture of them in bed. Moments later, Chloe walks in with flowers and asks if Catherine had a good time the previous night. Feeling embarrassed, Catherine admits she did, but insists that their arrangement is finished. Heartbroken, Chloe confesses her love for Catherine, who is taken aback and apologizes for the mix-up. Catherine thanks Chloe for her help and pays her for her services. Chloe leaves the office in tears. Looking for revenge, Chloe shows up at Michael's hockey practice, where they flirt a bit. She brings him a CD of his favorite band, but he tells her he already has it downloaded. Pretending she's not into the internet, Chloe mentions personal stuff. She then says goodbye, promising to see him again. After getting a provocative text from Chloe, Catherine calls her, and after a tense conversation, she asks Chloe to meet her at a hotel in an hour. That evening, Catherine and David go to a coffee shop, where she confronts him about having an affair. He admits he lied about his flight, but insists he's not seeing anyone. Out of nowhere, Chloe walks into the cafe, and Catherine's expression shifts. David turns to see what's going on, looking confused, as he asks who Chloe is and why Catherine looks so upset. It finally hits Catherine that Chloe has been lying about her interactions with David to drive a wedge between them. Catherine realizes that Chloe has feelings for her. She then apologizes to David for doubting him. As he storms off to work, she catches him on the street and opens up about her experiences with Chloe. David, taken aback but understanding, embraces her and gives her a kiss. Feeling jealous, Chloe heads over to Michael's place and gets cozy with him in his parents' bed. When Catherine comes home, she finds Chloe and Michael together. After sending Michael away, an upset Chloe confronts Catherine, accusing her of trying to manipulate her, like she does with her male clients. Chloe asserts that money won't make her go away. In a fit of rage, she grabs her hairpin, accidentally cutting her hand, and threatens Catherine with it. Scared, Catherine asks what Chloe wants, and Chloe demands a kiss. Catherine kisses Chloe, but when she spots Michael's reflection in the window, she panics, realizing he saw the kiss and pushes Chloe away. Chloe loses her balance and crashes into a big window, breaking it into shards. She tries to steady herself between the window frames to avoid falling. Unfortunately, Catherine watches in shock as Chloe releases her grip and tumbles out of the bedroom window, landing on the patio below. Fast forward several months to Michael's graduation party, where Catherine is mingling with guests at their home. She glances around, sharing looks with her husband and son. The scene closes as a guest approaches her, and it's revealed that Catherine is wearing Chloe's hairpin in her hair. This is where the movie ends. Subscribe if you enjoyed.